Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show, where you'll find health and fitness inspiration, motivation, and information shared in 15-minute episodes. Tune in while getting a move on to make leading and enjoying the benefits of a healthy lifestyle almost too easy. It's the Fit 15. And now your host, Catherine Basu.
Welcome to the Fit 15 podcast show. I'm your host, Catherine Basu, and my guest today is Michael Kass, who is pretty amazing. I'll read you his bio in a second, but we're going to be chatting about spiritual fitness, breathwork, and brownies. So this is going to be a very fun episode, if you can't tell by our topics of choice. Who is Michael Kass, though, if you have not met him yet? Michael Kass is the founder of the Center for Story and Spirit. He is a Los Angeles-based speaker, facilitator, and award-winning storyteller dedicated to helping people, organizations, and communities discover and harness the power of their stories to create change. Michael's trainings on storytelling, speaking, mindfulness, and breathwork have been featured at events in the United States and internationally. Michael is a graduate of Rice University and Northwestern University. He is an ACC coach certified by the International Coach Federation, a certified breathwork facilitator, and has completed medicine wheel training with Rites of Passage Vision Quest. Michael is a mentor with the Creative Visions Foundation, the storytelling expert of the Wellbeing Project, and serves on the board of directors of the Breath Center. Also, he likes brownies maybe a little too much. Michael, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited and honored to have you as my guest today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So I really enjoyed, we got to meet in person maybe 2 weeks ago now, I think, and really loved what you are doing and found that the work that you did really helped me relax more and kind of bring up this idea that I keep having brought to my mind, which is that, fitness is not just, and our health is not just about physical fitness and physical health, but there's other aspects as well to helping us grow as people. So you kind of focus on this spiritual fitness. So can you talk to us about that concept and why it's important to work on?
Absolutely, right? When we think of fitness, we usually, like you said, think of the body and working out or cardio. And what that does is it creates a stronger sense of resilience in the body, right? You tend to, if you're fit, you can recover from injuries more quickly. You can have greater endurance. You can have greater physical stamina and strength. We also, when we go to school, we get trained in our mental strength, right? Critical thinking skills and problem solving and languages and all that to create this really strong brain muscle. What often gets neglected is, spiritual is a tricky word, but it is spiritual fitness, where spiritual is just that part of ourselves that wants to connect deeply, both internally with the deeper parts of ourselves and externally with the world around us. And the way I think of spiritual fitness is going through practices and exercise that really increase the resilience we have when we get stressed out, when something triggers us. If we don't have that sense of fitness, if we haven't been practicing when things do feel balanced, then we tend to get pulled way off course really quickly, and it's hard to come back, right? We have an outburst and it ruins our day. As opposed to, if we have these practices, we still have the outburst. We still get pulled off center. That's never going to change. What we develop is the ability to bring ourselves back to center much more quickly.
No, I love that, and definitely important. Yeah, because and it can affect if we're trying to, tend to our physical fitness and we have a bad day and we don't have those tools, it can be hard to be motivated to
absolutely
to do that, right? So.
Yeah, and so many times, right, we go to a meditation class or a yoga class or something only when something goes wrong. Right. So we think of these practices as crisis management as opposed to building the muscles on the front end so they're there when things do go off track.
I love that. And I know we'll probably get into this a little bit more later, but one thing I loved, you mentioned that spiritual fitness is about exercising that connection to yourself, but also others in the world around them. And I really liked how when you had led us through that meditation, I felt that really was helpful, thinking about the connection to others. So I don't know if you can speak about that, or even just the importance of, just developing this sense of spirituality beyond just helping us avoid getting into these crisis modes.
Absolutely, right? I mean, I think that it's part and parcel of the same thing, because if you think of the nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, is divided into two sections. The stressed out side is the sympathetic nervous system. It's responsible for when we get stressed, when we go into that fight, flight, or freeze state. Usually, our pupils focus in a bit, our breathing constricts to our upper chest, the blood is pumping from our brain into our body. It's sort of the mama bear thing, right? Where all of a sudden we're very protective. And actually in small doses, that is super useful because it enabled us to survive when we were being chased by tigers or something.
Sure.
Nowadays, if you're an entrepreneur or a new parent or a human trying to live in the world, that sympathetic side of our nervous system exists often almost in a state of continuous triggering, right? And it gets exhausting. And one of the things that happens is we lose our connection with ourselves and others because our body literally thinks it's under attack. And so it goes into survival mode. So the other side is the parasympathetic nervous system, which is, it's called the rest and digest side. When our body feels safe, it can relax. And when it relaxes, it can release chemicals like oxytocin, which is literally responsible for us feeling empathy. Empathy for ourselves, empathy for others, empathy for animals, trees, whatever it is. So when we do these practices, we actually are inviting ourselves into that sense of connection. And when I say practices, there's a lot of mystique around this stuff, like, ooh, I'm going to meditate, or yoga. I could never do yoga. That's crazy. And I share that. I'm not a yoga person. I don't even really consider myself a terribly, quote, good meditator. I am deeply connected to the breath and realize that, as you mentioned, the exercise we did at the workshop was really just about connecting with the breath, allowing it to come in more deeply and more consciously, and using that along with some visualization as a way to connect with the earth beneath our feet, the sky above us, and using those connections to really see ourselves as part of a much larger picture. So in the space of about, I think it's a 7 to 10 minute exercise, we went from being individuals sitting in a room.
Hi friends, it's Catherine, and that is a reminder to turn around if you are listening to the podcast and only have 15 minutes to join us for that out and back walk. I always recommend that you do. We are 7.5 minutes through, so you want to turn around now. All right, back to our conversation.
To being connected with the world around us, and then finally with being connected with everyone else. And what I love about that is you could feel the shift in the room as people dissolved those boundaries. And it's such a simple, beautiful exercise that if you do it regularly, deeply enhances that sense of resilience we were talking about.
I definitely feel like, because my only other real experience with breath work as of late has been, going to yoga, which took me a few years to even try and get into consistently. But that was just a really different piece, and I think a lot more helpful than, not that I still get a lot out of yoga. I mean, a lot of why I go is for more that the savasana part sometimes, and not necessarily to get a good workout and just to give my mind a little break. But that was really striking, just the difference that it made, just making that connection to things outside of myself versus just letting go of the things that were stressing me out. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. And it's interesting with yoga and meditation, there's a story about a guy who was having hypertension issues. He was just stressed all the time. And he went to a doctor who was also his friend. And he said, I don't get it. I go to yoga all the time and I don't notice any pain in my chest. And I leave and I get it. And the doctor was puzzled, and he actually went to the yoga class with his friend, and he hooked him up to an EKG, and he found that, when he's on the yoga mat, everything relaxes. He's perfect. The second he leaves the studio, all the hypertension comes up, right? So his body had trained itself to be in a really healthy, balanced state, but only on the yoga mat. And it hadn't integrated into day-to-day life. So what's interesting is finding just small practices that you can do throughout the day that don't require any kind of special container, because that's how we really start to build an ongoing sense of connection.
Love that. No, that's awesome. And I mean, can you speak to too, just going from, what the difference might be between spiritual fitness and spirituality and what we might experience in that yoga piece, I guess that makes the
Mhm.
difference?
Yeah, it's all related.
Sure.
I think that there's, when you are on a path of spiritual growth, then there are sort of initiations and processes that you go through that are a little bit deeper than just spiritual fitness,
Hmm.
right? So these are things like maybe a vision quest or a 10-day Vipassana retreat or an intense yoga retreat, or even going through yoga training, right? These are things that instigate spiritual growth by bringing us into a different relationship with parts of ourselves that we might not normally contact, right?
Hmm.
Generally, parts that we're ashamed of, anywhere we're carrying trauma, stuck emotions, that kind of stuff. That's really the one of the purposes or end goals of a spiritual growth process.
Hmm.
Spiritual fitness is more like the exercises you do in between or to train for that kind of stuff, right? So
Hmm.
if you're running a marathon, that's one thing. If you're training for a marathon, that's a daily practice.
Right.
So when I
Right.
think of spiritual fitness, it's those little practices you do that don't necessarily have to be confrontational at all.
Hmm.
It's literally about regulating and down regulating the nervous system, bringing yourself back to center more quickly, so that when those deeper processes do happen, either voluntarily or sometimes we get dumped into them when an external event happens,
Right.
we're ready and we have more tools to draw on. So they're along a spectrum. So there's the distinction's a little bit subtle.
Sure. So how does this end up being added to our days? How can we work it in just in more of a
Totally.
logistical sense?
Yeah. So I do a few things. I sort of link it to everyday actions that I do anyway. Things like making coffee in the morning, right?
Hmm.
I actually have it built into my routine that I will take 3 deep conscious breaths before I start the coffee pot.
Mm.
I really feel myself in my body. And then the reward I get for that is I get delicious coffee afterwards. So the
Right.
reward is actually kind of important, right? Before I brush my teeth in the morning, what I'll do is I'll play with my focus. So I may just close my eyes and turn my focus internally,
Hmm.
and then just focus to everything I'm hearing to my left, everything I'm hearing to my right, everything behind me, and everything in front of me, and then everything. And then the reward I get after that is delicious minty breath right after I brush my teeth.
Right.
And it becomes a game. And these things take 30 seconds to 45 seconds.
Hmm.
Um, and by doing it, I find that my day, I'm much more present in my day on the front end. Just little exercises like that can help a lot. I know that when I'm going into a stressful situation or a situation that has the potential to be stressful, there are
Hmm.
other practices I have there's something called the box breath,
Okay.
which is you inhale for a count of 4 and you hold it for a count of 4. You exhale for a count of 4, and then you hold that for a count of 4. And so you do that 3 or 4 times, and it slows your whole body down.
Hmm.
Again, so you can be more present with whatever's happening. Again, it's super simple. And folks who have never done that kind of conscious breath work before sometimes are challenged by it because,
Right.
if nothing else, it brings up how quickly we push ourselves to move throughout the day.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, that's awesome. Those are definitely super super useful. And then if we're trying to build that longer, like, are there good times of day to do? Like, would you recommend doing it in the morning or in the evening, and spending a little bit more time and trying to incorporate that connection to the greater
Yeah.
world? How can we do that part?
So I find that if I start my day with 15 minutes of some kind of mindful practice, the
Hmm.
day just goes better. And that
Hmm.
mindful practice can be gentle yoga, it can be traditional mindfulness meditation, it can be a more active form of breath work. Um, Anything really to get me in my body. That said, not everybody's mornings are conducive to that. If you have kids, it just might be get up and go time, right?
Right.
And so the evenings can be a beautiful time for it too. The key is to set aside a time, and it can vary from day to day, but create a little bit of a ritual around it, the same way most people have a ritual around yoga they might not even know it, but you go into the yoga studio, you take off your shoes, you unroll the mat. That's a ritual that cues your body you're about to enter into a certain space. It's the same even with these simple practices we're talking about, is how can you create a little bit of division between the rest of your day and that practice, right? It's the same when we go to the gym. We go to the locker room, we change, we get our game face on, we put on our music. We're not conscious of it being a ritual, but it very much is a ritual.
Yeah. No, I love that. Would you be able, Michael, to walk us through any of those little breath things that you had us think about? The one I loved the most was just the few levels. So even if not the whole part of that, just like giving us some notes of how to dig a little deeper when we're taking those 15 minutes by ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could lead you through a slightly truncated version. Are you talking about the one where I used the drum or the other one?
Well, I found the first one I was able to relax in the most. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm gonna have to admit, I had trouble the second time. I found that for whatever reason, it could have been like we were getting near the end of the day. I had trouble like releasing any like the tension in my stomach for some reason. Like that anxiety gets there. I'm not saying that was from you. It might have just been from me, from me thinking
I
about my
broke
to-do
it.
list.
I did it bad. Right. No, but it's interesting. I noticed that a couple of other people too were kind of judging themselves for not having a certain experience.
Sure.
And my goal is just to create a space where whatever experience wants to be had is had. So I kind of love that you had a tough and became aware of that sort of knot in your stomach.
Right.
That's a big success. So let's not do that one though. Let's do the 3 levels of breathing, and I'll lead you through it, and folks who are listening can follow along.
Sure.
And so this is really simple, and it's just about bringing some awareness to the sense of connection that we have. And so to start, we just sit in a way that feels comfortable, or stand or lie down, whatever. And we start by just taking a deep conscious breath in. And so we just breathe in and just release it. And with that first release, we're just allowing ourselves to sink into and connect with our body. And as you breathe on your own a little bit, you're just aware with each inhale that this is you inhaling. And aware with the exhale that this is you exhaling. And you can become aware of all the cells in your body, all the muscles. And we're going to take another inhale in a moment. And before we do that, I want to add just a layer of awareness that we're breathing in these molecules of air, of oxygen, and that wherever we are, those molecules and that energy was in either another person or an animal or a plant just 30 seconds ago. And yesterday, it could have even been halfway around the world. Who knows, right? These things are traveling all the time. So when we breathe in this time, just really take in that literal sense of connection that's enabled by the breath. We're actually coming into a deep exchange with every other being and organism that has touched these molecules. So here we go. Just take a nice deep breath in. And exhale, releasing back into that sense of connection. And we're going to take a third breath, and I'll add another layer of awareness, which is because matter is neither created nor destroyed over time, these molecules of air that we're breathing in have in one form or another been around since the beginning of time, and they'll be around long after we're gone. So with each breath, not only are we connecting with each other through space, we're also engaged in an exchange and in a conversation through time as well. So you can imagine yourself connecting in all of these different dimensions, internal, through space, and through time. Here we go. Just nice deep breath in. And release it. And that's it. It's really, really simple. And the more you key into that, and the more often you do it, then the more natural that sense of connection becomes.
No, I absolutely love that. I feel like it could be short. I mean, we did a little bit longer, like you said, but even those 3 levels, I feel like can really, really, like I already feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
So.
It's interesting. I mean, and you realize how much almost all of us these days try to carry on our own, right? Oh, I have to carry this stress by myself. And even by becoming aware of this, it's literal, it's not even a spiritual connection, just we're breathing in molecules that were inside someone else yesterday. It's crazy.
Sure.
We realize, oh, I'm not alone at all. I'm quite literally in connection all the time. And it's amazing. It's literally like taking a load off. You go like, oh, right, I'm not alone. It can be really powerful.
I like that because, it's funny, like you focus on the not being alone. I was thinking of, these problems that I might have today that seem so crazy are not really that significant in the grand scheme. But I like how you said it better because it is more powerful that, we actually are connected to everyone else around us, and that support system is really helpful.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I love what you said too. That's what's fun about these is everybody takes something a little bit different away from it.
Yeah.
And that's what I love. It will always be interesting, and it will always be useful because you can also do this exercise again tomorrow and you'll take something different away from it.
Sure.
So it's never the same thing twice.
I love that. So you have some exciting things going on, because maybe I just need to get more used to practicing, and that will help me out as well, right? Like you said.
Totally. Yeah. If people are interested in some recorded meditations, I actually have some at my website that you can stream for free. The website is storyandspirit.org. And if you go to the resources tab, you'll see them there.
That's awesome.
And if folks are interested in going a bit deeper and doing a different kind of breath work that's more of an active meditation that leads to a state of really deep relaxation eventually, after we do some active breathing, I'm doing facilitating a summer solstice breathwork and sound bath event up here in Los Angeles on June 21st. So that's again on my website, but we have a beautiful outdoor space in Highland Park. And I work with a duo called Electric Sound Bath. That's electric bass and singing bowls. And they create this beautiful soundscape to support this kind of practice. And it's and then we have ice cream afterwards. So it's going to be a really fun night.
Now I have to ask from your bio, I mean, is there going to be any ice cream that's chocolate fudge brownie ice cream?
I have requested that. I have a brownie thing. And that's actually weirdly one of the ways I know I'm being triggered. If I just like am craving not just a brownie, that's fine, but a pan of brownies. I'm like, oh boy, all right, something's going on. I have to where did it go off the road here? Why don't I take a few deep breaths and see where we're at? That's
too funny. So yes, I guess the power of knowing what the triggers are and what the signs are. So.
Exactly. Well, that's a big part of it, right? So that's I remember probably 10 years ago being at a job and having a conversation with my boss, and there happened to be some brownies next to us, and I was just eating, totally not conscious, shoving them in my mouth. And I remember she eventually slapped my hand, and I went, "Why are you?" And I looked, and there was just chocolate all over my fingers, and I went, "Oh, right, thank you."
I mean, I feel like you're really set up a little bit. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to eat, right? If they're good brownies, if they're like, I mean, I guess it depends on people's preference, but if they're too cakey, then maybe that wouldn't happen. But if they're really good.
Exactly. Oh, these were delicious fudgy brownies.
Oh, so it is. I mean, I like how we're coming to this point, because everything really is about balance too, right? I mean, balancing the mind, body, and spirit, but still having fun with it, and not, being able to enjoy some of those treats sometimes, and not
Exactly. Well, and even with the nervous system, right? Those two sides of the nervous system, there are times when being stressed is totally appropriate and very, very useful. So we never want to get to a place where we're just zenned out all the time. Right. That's not the point. The point is that we can bring ourselves back to that when it's appropriate, or when that stress response is getting to be too much.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, Michael, I really enjoyed having you on the show. I feel more relaxed now. I feel like I can take on the rest of my day and be a good good trainer for my clients. I appreciate that. And you mentioned your website. Where anywhere else? I mean, I'll put all this in our show notes, but anywhere else people can go and connect with you that are.
Yes, on the social medias, the best place to find me is on Instagram, and it's just @StoryandSpirit is the Instagram account.
Very cool. Well, thanks again, and maybe I'll have to come out and check out this summer solstice sound bath experience myself.
I would love that.
Thanks for listening to the Fit 15. For show notes and more, visit fitarmadillo.com/podcast. See you next time.
Hi friends, it's Catherine, and I hope you enjoyed working on your spiritual fitness today. Thanks to Michael's tips and insights. Don't forget, he has some great resources so you can practice your spiritual fitness more often on your own, and an awesome event happening in a little over a week on Thursday, June 21st, 2018 in Los Angeles, California. So if you're able to join that, I would highly recommend it after spending some time with Michael a few weeks back. Definitely, he does a great job in the quick little insights he shared on the podcast today, I thought, but it's a lot more influential, I think, when you're able to experience what he has to offer in person. So highly recommend that. Little housekeeping thing for this week before I close out today's episode of the podcast. My fitness company, Fit Armadillo, who is the sponsor of the Fit 15, turned 5 years old, technically last month, but we've been continuing the celebration into this month because we don't want to stop partying. Turning 5 is a big deal, I think. So what we've been doing is hosting $5 online group fitness classes, which is a departure from our private sessions because it's kind of hard to have a good party with just 2 people. I mean, it can happen, but we wanted to expand the celebration and invite more people to join in on the fun. So if you missed out on some of the other weeks where we offered this, we have 2 more classes happening this week at this special price. One more on Wednesday, June 13th at 7 p.m. Pacific time, and another on Thursday, June 14th at 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, but lots of other times based on your location. Remember, you can join from anywhere you are in the world as long as you have a good internet connection. So I hope to see you in class. I will definitely be a student in yoga. I love our instructor, Kayla, and I try to work out with her at least once a week to work on just my mindset and some of the things that Michael shared here. So highly recommend her. Hope to see you in class. And if you are a subscriber of the podcast, I will chat with you tomorrow. Bye.